are back. 2025. This is the first episode that we've done of the Patriots Only Please podcast in 2025. So happy New Year, everybody. Man, and it has already, so we took a little bit of a break for the holiday season. We did the whole Christmas thing, the New Year's thing. If you are new to the show, of course, this is Patriots Only Please. You can visit us at patriotsonlyplease.com. You can get on our little mailing list and find out when our shows are going to happen, when we're going live, when we've posted something new. And if you're not into visiting websites, you can always go to your social media application of choice and like, subscribe, and follow at Patriots Only Please. Unless you're on X, it's Patriots Only Pulls, PLS. They didn't let us do the whole. We ran out of characters, so we couldn't be Patriots Only Please. So we're Patriots Only Pulse on X. But yeah, so happy New Year to you. As always, I am Jeff C.
Mr. Soli.
Yes, and we are back to bend your ear for another year. Hey, that rhymes. Bend your ear for another year. So here we are. As a songwriter,
new hashtag alert. There it is.
I love it. So, all right, man. So everything from the holidays to New Year's attacks in New Orleans and in our neck of the woods in Las Vegas, right at Trump Tower, the debate over the H-1B thing, people are fighting, amongst themselves in America First Land. So many things to discuss. So I'm going to let you have at it.
Yeah. Before we went, first of all, Happy New Year to you and yours. And before we went live on the show, we were talking about this sort of vibe shift that's happening. And everything you just mentioned is kind of a part of that vibe shift, which I think is going to be a great move for the country, a great move away from this far left woke mind virus ridiculousness that's kind of taken hold of I don't know, unfortunately, a large part of the country and definitely the Democrat Party. But to your point about the terrorist attacks, what I found interesting, and I don't know if anyone's unpacked this correctly yet or not, is that both offenders, both perpetrators in New Orleans and in Vegas had been either visiting or had been stationed at Fort Bragg. I don't know what that means or what that connection is or what that has to say about Fort Bragg, but that's odd. Can we at least agree that that's a weird coincidence?
Sure, absolutely.
Statistically, that happening is very strange. And I'm not surprised that people on the far left are worried about what Trump's going to do, because he's going to change the country fundamentally. He's coming in guns blazing, ready to rock. And everyone knows that. So if you're on the wrong side meaning on the unrealistic America Last side, the Democrat Party, it's time for a real awakening. I don't think that motivated these two attacks, but I think they're sort of like an extreme example of the fear that people are fearing on that side about what's about to shift in our country.
Yeah, I guess it depends on, how much you trust the media.
Or they could just be two whack jobs. They could just be two crazy guys. Right?
Yeah, that's the other thing. If you believe the media, if you follow the media, and certainly if you pay attention and follow the pundits, especially in like law enforcement, because my wife and I have been kind of tracking the whole Vegas bombing thing, and they're releasing tidbits of information as they go. And it's still kind of all roads lead, at least the official story, that it's a lone whack job, not related, not connected. But there's new things that are coming out. So obviously, we don't want to speak out of turn or try to, say anything that doesn't end up being true. But yeah, quite an interesting thing that both incidents happen on New Year's Day. Blowing up a Cybertruck in front of the Trump Hotel. If nothing else, that certainly seemed like somebody was trying to send some sort of a message, not to just Trump, but to Elon as well.
Right.
But my biggest takeaway from all of that is our job between today and the 20th, Inauguration Day, is keep that man and his cabinet as safe as possible, because anything could happen. There's going to be attacks that are ramping up on all sides, and we just got to keep this man safe so he can make it into the office. Right.
Yeah, I agree completely. And now that you said it, the way that you just said that, it just sparked in my brain the idea of how symbolic it is to explode one of Elon Musk's cars in front of Trump's tower, like he's saying to both those guys, two big middle fingers, essentially. But at the peril of his own life, this guy's not alive anymore, right?
No, so from what I understand, with the news reports that are kind of leaking out, is that he apparently took his life before the bomb went off, or at the same
Right.
time.
Right.
There's a whole kind of manifesto or something that was typed up where apparently, from what I understand, now the latest news is that he could have possibly been followed. Maybe he was, who knows? There's all kinds of twists and turns, and look, trust is so low in the media and just in general, right? With our elected officials, whether they're in Washington or local, like law enforcement,
Right.
really nobody knows what to believe. Nobody knows who to trust. So I'm going to take every official story and every official piece of news with a massive grain of salt. And
Yes.
but the problem is there's a lot of chatter on the internet. So everybody's got their theories, and unfortunately, we'll see where the facts lead. But the larger picture is keeping that man safe. I mean, that
Yes.
was just the first of what could possibly be many other attempts.
Right.
I don't even think that look, I mean, the incidents happened on New Year's Day in New Orleans and here in Vegas, where Trump was not. Nobody
Right.
thought that Trump was in Vegas or New Orleans. Everybody knew that he was in Mar-a-Lago. So I
Right.
don't know exactly. So obviously these attacks were probably just meant to be largely symbolic.
I think so, and I know for a fact that the perpetrator in New Orleans had become radicalized, even though he was formerly a soldier from Fort Bragg. He become radicalized, and he was shot on sight by police.
Yep.
So he's definitely not alive.
Yeah.
So both of these symbolic actions, whether they were coordinated together or not, didn't end up doing much except getting our attention. And like you said, pointing out how important it is to keep Trump and his incoming administration as safe as possible to avoid any more shenanigans. I don't know if Biden has kept that fencing around the White House for his entire 4 years or not, but they might want to put it back up when Trump takes over on the 20th, just to keep things copacetic for the first,
Sure.
6 to 8 months to a year, because a lot of people are unhinged right now about what's about to change in this country, even though what's about to change is going to make life better for every single American of every creed, color, racial background, income level, education level. It's going to be better for everyone. The left and the media has been selling this false narrative for so long. A lot of people are just scared to the core about what Trump might do, even though he's been president before, even though, but, people, sometimes the story means more than the truth to some people.
Oh, I mean, obviously, look, if it leads, it bleeds. I mean, the truth doesn't
Yep.
necessarily sell all the time. And look, when it comes to people not trusting the different factions, I mean, that goes just beyond left and right. I mean, just case in point, over just a few days leading up to all this stuff, there was the kind of infighting among the America First factions between this whole H-1B visa thing.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are saying, "See, I knew Vivek and Elon weren't. They were just going to try to flood with more immigrants." And look, I didn't take either of them to mean any of that. I took it to what I think that they mean, which is, unfortunately, our education system, because it's been run by the left for so long, we're not producing the type of talent that's needed for these future jobs. So unfortunately, right now, the best talent is coming out of other countries. But that's talent they're here based on merit. They're not, running across a border.'re not entering illegally. They're coming in legally. And if they're taking jobs from Americans, then look, my answer to that is, well, then we need to make smarter Americans.
Yes, exactly. From my days back on the cruise ships in the 90s, a lot of the folks that were there are on H-1B visas, and they're strictly monitored. They're not, the problem with letting people in, the problem with the catch and release program that Biden's made into law here in our country is, you come in for free, you break the law, but in 3 years, you come back for your court date, you're going to be in big trouble. No one's coming back for their court date. Everyone knows that. So it's just been a big. So the H-1B visa program is actually monitored and controlled by the government. They check in on these folks. They know where they are. They're usually here for education, for mostly STEM field jobs. So they're working for technology companies. So it's a whole different kind of immigration issue than open borders and illegal immigrants. Yeah.
And I think that we need to be careful as as a party. Again, I hesitate to call it the Republicans or the Democrats. At this point, it's the America First movement, in my opinion. I think that people just need to be a little, because there are people in the America First movement from all sides. There's Democrats, there's Republicans, there's independents, there's libertarians. And so you have all of these different ideologies and different opinions kind of mixing together, getting behind Trump, which is a great thing, but, in the interest of the state. So I think, the intentions are good, but it's like the old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. You know what I mean? I think people, we're going to need to listen to each other, especially within the party, when people like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, start talking about these things. I'm going to listen to the guys who run these massive companies, who have hired people from all over the world, who have built, $1 billion, net worths for themselves, who probably know a little more about hiring foreign talent and the need to hire foreign talent than I do. Or, and even though you and I both, we run our own little businesses, but, we're not bringing people in. We're not doing STEM careers. You know what I mean? So they are.
Well, and that's also the difference between an H-1B visa is that you have an employer petitioning for you to come on their behalf, as opposed to an open border where you run in and go, where do you want to, and they ask them at the border, what blue state do you want to end up in, and go and live off the government? It's completely different. You have an employer petitioning this person or people to come from this part, another part of the world, to fill positions here that can't be filled by Americans. So it's a different tier of immigration issue.
Sure. And I think that the big argument among, some people on our side was that, it's taking jobs away from Americans. And again, maybe it is, but look, if you've paid attention to the education system at all in the last 30, 40 years, let's say 60 years, if we're being honest, I mean, we're not producing that kind of talent. I mean, I talk to people from other countries, particularly in the Middle East and all those areas every day from what I do outside of, like the music industry. I work a little bit in the tech industry as well. So I talk with a lot of those people, and, there's a work ethic, and there's a, there's a knowledge there that unfortunately, as somebody who talks to foreigners every day, and as also the father of a 19-year-old, there's a stark difference between, the work ethic between the two. I wish it was the other way around. I wish I could say there's millions and millions of really qualified, recent high school and college graduates that can just jump into these jobs. And there are several. That's not to say that everybody's, some lazy idiot, but our education system has not been producing top quality people because we've been focusing on the wrong things. We've been focusing
I agree.
We've been focusing on, most of the kids, most of my daughter's friends, they're going to school and pursuing these, liberal arts degrees, or they're in film, or they're in theater or music, and all that stuff is great. But, that isn't producing the top talent you need at Google or at SpaceX.
Yes. And let's not forget, the military has been having a hard time getting people just to join the military. The numbers are way down. All you need to be is have average intelligence and average health. And they're struggling to get people. They're struggling to meet their numbers every month, every quarter, every year, because Americans are way out of shape and way undereducated. So
they'll take us at this point.
Yeah. So hashtag Maha, make America healthy again. Yeah. This is even more important that Trump steps up at this time in our country's history and says, listen, there's a reason why 100 million Americans are pre-diabetic. There's a reason why 60% of Americans are obese. It's what we're putting in our bodies and what we're not doing to help ourselves stay in shape. Let's talk about it for real. Like, for real, let's talk about it. Let's figure this out as a country. So thank God that Trump's brought that component into his new administration. It's desperately needed in our country. Democrats are completely silent on this issue. If you haven't noticed, completely silent about health, food, not a peep. Pro COVID, pro pharma, they're the party of big everything. So thank goodness this is happening now. But yeah, there's definitely a shortage of talent in our country because of what we just talked about, from the military all the way to high tech jobs and everything in the middle. And but opening the borders and letting anyone come in just so they might vote blue down the road is definitely not worth it. And it's what got Kamala trounced in the election. One of the main things.
Absolutely. And hopefully, look, in the next 3-4 years, we can look back and say, hey, all right, we have tons of skilled, brilliant, technically inclined young people who to put in those high-paying jobs, and we don't. And
Right.
then the H-1B just becomes the exception rather than the rule. So,
well,
but it's funny,
let's not. I'm sorry. Let's not forget too. I mean, I've known some people here on H-1B visas for different in Las Vegas and also on the ships. Let's not forget, a lot of these folks speak 2 or 3 different languages. They're educated in their own countries, and they're coming here to pursue their education even further, or work at Google or Apple. So it's like these are the cream of the crop anywhere in the world. So there's a stark difference between bringing those people in. Again, an H-1B visas have an expiration date. Very clearly, the employer knows it, the employee knows it, the immigrant knows it. Everyone knows that it's legal and it's controlled. Opening the border and going, come on in, is not at all a solution to anything but problems for more Americans and high inflation and high energy costs. And
1,000%. And like you said, there's a huge difference between the H-1B visa holder and who's coming in legally, and the MS-13 gang member who's coming across with his buddies who are intending to do harm. And speaking of the illegal immigration, I mean that was the other thing that we saw over the holidays, or certainly while we were on our little break. I mean, just the crime has gone up in cities like New York. I mean, they're setting people on fire now in subways. I mean, they're like, what the hell is going on? And look, I don't completely attribute that to, as blanket illegal immigrants and all that, because anybody can do something stupid. Obviously the guy that blew himself up in front of Trump Tower was a citizen, an American citizen. So that it's not that, but the fact that, I mean, it doesn't help when you're bringing that number of questionable characters into any one place. It's that much concentration of evil is going to manifest itself in very bad ways. So, I mean, I don't know what's your, I'm sure you think it's appalling as well, but I mean, what was your take on all that?
My take on it was it showed a very stark difference in the way the fake news legacy media covers 2 different subway incidents. Daniel Perry, Caucasian man, BLM threatened to riot across the country if he got freed. He did get free. They didn't riot because the Democrats aren't supporting that anymore, because they're going out of power very quickly. But when the immigrant lit an American woman on fire in the subway, almost radio silence from the mainstream media. Nothing to see here, which is outrageous, which is, again, a testament to how outrageous and useless the mainstream media has become, and how one-sided, and how they're only trying to sell one narrative. And with Trump being this popular, winning the electoral vote and the popular vote, and coming in with this much momentum, it's going to be fascinating to see them do some kind of dance where they pretend to be impartial a little bit, because they're going to have to if they want to retain any kind of viewership.
Sure. Well, they may even have to go back to their old talking points. I mean, because, hey, remember when Obama was running, when Hillary was running, the illegal immigration, if you were talking like we are, you were part of the Democrat establishment. If now those very things make you when, interestingly enough, they were speaking very similar language. I have a couple of examples if you'd care to see any of that.
I would love to see them.
Any of our viewers, anybody who's watching this now or in the future, is curious what the king of the Democrats, Barack Obama, and the queen of the Democrats, Hillary Clinton, thought about illegal immigration when they were running. I don't know. Maybe this might be news to you. So
circa 2008, 2009.
Somewhere around there, somewhere around there. But they were clearly both running. So let's show what King Obama has to say. Here, let's check this out.
This is not going to be a free ride. It's not going to be some instant amnesty. What's going to happen is you are going to pay a significant fine. You are going to learn English. You are going to go to the back of the line so that you don't get ahead of somebody who was in Mexico City applying legally. But after you've done these things over a certain period of time, you can earn your citizenship, so that it's not something that is guaranteed or automatic. You've got to earn it, but over time, you give people an opportunity. Now, it only works, though, if you do all the pieces. I think the American people, they appreciate and believe in immigration, but they can't have a situation where you just have 500,000 people pouring over the border without any kind of mechanism to control it. So we've got to deal with that at the same time as we deal in a humane fashion with folks who have put down roots here, have become our neighbors, have become our friends. They may have children who are U.S. citizens. That's the kind of comprehensive approach that we have to take.
What a fascist, racist POS. Oh my God, how dare he? That guy needs to be locked up. And I mean, clearly he's part of the Klan. I mean, just such a racist fascist. I mean, what do you think?
Well, what I think is that a lot of the stock pictures that people used during Trump's first administration of kids in cages were actually pictures from when Obama was the president, because a lot of kids ended up in cages temporarily because there was nowhere else to put them when they had separated them from their families. So yeah, it's again, and what's incredible, I saw this fascinating clip quickly with Piers Morgan talking to Charlemagne the God.
Oh yeah.
It was asking Charlemagne these exact same questions. He goes, he runs through the numbers. Obama deported 5.3 million illegals. Most of the pictures of kids in cages that we see anytime, anywhere are circa 2013, 2014, when Obama was the president, not Trump's first administration. And Piers asked the question to Charlemagne. He said, if Trump had done that in his first administration, you'd have those numbers memorized, wouldn't you? He goes, yeah, probably. Because when he asked what Obama did, he goes, I don't know. Probably a lot, right? How many presidents dropped the most bombs around the world in one calendar year? Barack Obama. But no one knows that because Obama equals saint, Trump equals devil.
Of course, and they were too busy giving Obama the what did he get, the Nobel Peace Prize in his first
3 months into his first administration, when he literally hadn't done anything except win the election. Even Obama downplayed that win. He's like, thanks. His statement was like one paragraph. Like, I really appreciate this tremendous honor. I am brand new at this too. I don't know why I'm getting it, but hey, I'll keep the money. And thanks so much for acknowledging me becoming president. But I haven't literally done anything yet. But hey, that's awesome, I guess, guys.
Yeah. And we'll see all of that happen with the Democrat establishment as Biden makes his way out as well. They're gonna canonize everybody from Hillary Clinton to obviously they've already done it with Hunter Biden, pardoning him. So they're look, the grift continues and it's just going to keep. Thank God we all literally dodged a bullet, with this election. But
Jeff, as we're speaking right now, Biden is closing in on 10,000 pardons. Heading toward 10,000 pardons, and Barack Obama is 2 at 1,900. I think Trump was somewhere in the 500 to 600 range.
Yeah,
but Obama was 1,900, close to 2,000. Biden's heading toward. I mean, let's not forget, Biden's been in politics for over half a century. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of folks to exonerate, so that when his kids have a chance at a normal life.
Sure, and that's exactly why he's doing it. I think what's nice. You want to talk about like the kind of the vibe shift. I think across the country, overall, well, look, I would like to think that people are waking up to the fact that we've been run by essentially a crime family for the last, let's say 50 years. I mean, there's been little pockets here and there. I mean, you had the era of Reagan, you had, the Trump's 4 years, but for the most part, I mean, whether it was the Bushes or, it's the Clintons, or it's almost been like some oligarch, family that's been running. It's either been the Bushes, the Cheneys, the Clintons, whether they're directly elected or whether they're like the shadow government where they're just kind of calling shots from the side. And I think people are just tired of it. Everybody is waking up to the fact now that we're being run. It's the mafia is basically running this country. They're running it like a crime family. So, I'd like to see how this all plays out with this next administration. But again, the first mission is to keep the man safe and get him through to the inauguration so he can actually put his agenda forth in those first, 100 days or so.
What's hopeful for me, I'm a big believer in history and knowing history. If you don't know your history, you're doomed to recreate it, that whole line. Mm-hmm. When let's not forget, there's still over 100 hostages being held by Hamas in the Gaza Strip since last year, October 7th. Trump's going to free those people. When when Reagan beat Carter, and by the way, Jimmy Carter just passed away. May he rest in peace. Terrible president, terrible statesman, but a former president.
Good man. Yeah, good man by all accounts. Yeah.
Good man. He, built houses for Habitat for Humanity. Lousy president. Lousy president. But anyway, when Reagan beat him in 80, let's not forget, conservatives, Republicans held the White House for 12 more years.
Yeah.
So we've got Trump coming in right now for 4. He's a lame duck. He's got 4. If Vance wins 2 more terms in a row, there's your 12 more years again. And I'm not saying we're speculating way out, but I would love to see that happen. That it would take that much time, I think, to get us back on the right course foundationally, in this country.
Yeah. That begs the question. I mean, we talked a little bit about this last episode, but how long do you really think he has? Because, essentially with most presidents, you've got like maybe a year and a half to try to push your agenda through. Then after that, you're in election and campaigning mode.
I'm glad you asked that question. I'm glad you asked. Trump did 2 things very, very smartly. That's a word. Very, very smartly already. His tax cuts don't sunset until December of 2025. He's got this whole calendar year. So I said tax cuts should be his first concern. Don't have to be. I was mistaken in that and thinking that they don't sunset until I think December 31st, 2025. He's got a minute to take care of those. Also, in this newest spending bill that they passed through, the Republicans put an item in there where there's no more, for the next 2 years, no more arguments over spending bills. While Trump, for the first 2 years of Trump's presidency, no more immediate government funding bills. That's been paid for in this bill. So think about that. Trump doesn't have to worry about the government shutting down for 2 years, and his tax cuts are intact until the end of this calendar year, 2025. That takes a lot of load off him to focus on the policies to make America first right away from day one.
Yeah, and like, again, he's already making moves that where the hell has our president been? Well, our president's pardoning 10,000 people, and our president is doing God knows what, making media appearances occasionally when something happens. But yeah, Trump, our president-elect, who still has yet to be sworn in, is out there negotiating with world leaders. He's, which is one of the reasons why I think, a major war hasn't broken out. Again, we still have some time, but I'm hopeful that nothing huge is going to happen, because I think the rest of the world is just literally biding their time, waiting for Biden to get out.
Yeah, and let's in terms in the interests of economy of speech, let's just say that Trump is the vibe shift. Trump winning, Trump coming into office, that is the vibe shift. The team he's put together and what they're planning to do for the American people and hence for the world, that's changing that's rippling through the entire world very quickly, and that's great.
Yeah. And you even brought this up about that vibe shift is even coming from places that weren't normally friendly to that, like big tech companies, for example. So, I mean, where are you hearing that?
I listened to a very cool conversation. I forget the name of the podcast was Moss something, but there's 2 technologists that have been talking that are programmers. They've both worked for Mozilla and Google and Apple and those kinds of guys, talking about how the DEI format is entrenched in the bylaws of a lot of these huge companies, but like Boeing's getting rid of them. The University of Michigan is dismantling there, and so it's happening in academia. It's happening in big tech. It's happening from the ground up and from the top down, which is great. And no one's saying to stop allowing people of different backgrounds into these fields. We're just saying you have to be credentialed and qualified to get the right jobs. That's it. Even playing field for everybody. Everyone has the same shots. So it's refreshing, because this whole fear of getting canceled is gone. The whole fear of having a woke militia take over your industry is now at bay. I mean, it's a great chance for us to hit reset finally after 4 years of, let's say, soft authoritarianism under the Biden administration and their censorship.
That's a good way to put it. Soft authoritarianism. I think the last 4 years, like I just remember on November 6th, it felt just a little lighter. Probably not for people on the other side. Obviously, they're still crying in there, but for a lot of people, us included, we just kind of felt like, okay, well, there's hope, right? There's hope. So we're carrying that hope through January 20th. We're obviously carry that through as far as we can through Trump's presidency. Just God hope that he keeps him safe and everybody else.
And circle back to your question, I think he's got about 6 to 8 months from the jump, from January 20th, 6 to 8 months to really get things hammered through quickly, because as we've said before on the show, at 8 months in, all the folks who are in the House and the Senate have to start thinking about their own re-election efforts.
Yeah.
So that's when the real politics kicks in. And they've got to make sure they're keeping their constituents happy, keeping Trump happy, America First policies, but also in my state, this one thing is really important. I got to make sure the politics kicks in as they get closer to the midterms, and it'll be hard for the America First folks to get things through quickly. So the first 6 to 8 months are pivotal to get things done as fast as possible.
Yeah, and hopefully the members of Congress and anybody who's running in the midterms is paying attention, because if the people don't like where the country's going, we have no problem primarying any of these people. So hopefully that America First agenda and the will, that the political will carries through to that next election cycle for the midterms. And not to get ahead of ourselves, but it's something that we have to, certainly keep our eyes on.
Case in point, and we can end on this if you'd like, but I posted something about New Jersey. Democrat Governor Phil Murphy just signed a bill into law that took effect January 1st, 2025, lowering the standards for math, reading, and science for teachers who want to get certified as teachers in New Jersey. Now, Kamala only won Jersey by 5 points. Both Biden and Hillary won it by double digits. Kamala only won it by 5 points. So our America First MAGA movement has to start seeping into these blue states and winning them. I mean, there's no reason why the next Republican president can't win New Jersey if Kamala could only win it by 5 points. And she was horrendous as a candidate. Yeah, so, and because in the end, and why do that? Because these kinds of policies are getting put into place. What sense does it help children who need to learn being taught by teachers they admit aren't very good at math, reading, and spelling? Like, how is that? And by the way, the average incoming salary for a teacher in New Jersey is $80,000 a year. We're in Nevada, Southern Nevada. It's about $45,000 a year, which is horrendous. But $80,000 a year to be a subpar teacher is a pretty good gig. So you can imagine the kinds of characters that'll be signing up for that gig when that law goes into effect. Which again, any talk about the students? Nope. Any conversation or concern about them not getting taught properly? No one cares. They just need more teachers.
Yeah, and more money and more funding. And again, anybody that's gonna have this H-1B argument with us, well, there you go. That's a perfect example. That's why we're having to bring in talent from India and China. Yeah.
We have to lower. If we want to hire Americans, we have to lower the standards of what it means to be that thing. We can bring in folks from other parts of the world who already are at that level. So there's the kind of the counter argument to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was unaware of the Jersey governor doing that, but I mean, I'm not surprised. Absolutely.
The irony of Obama is once he won in 2009, Joe Biden was his vice president.
Yes.
And by the way, in that first term, and Obama and Biden's first term, they also were not for gay marriage. Let's not forget that. No. They were vociferous about the fact that a marriage was between a man and a woman, and they were anti-gay marriage. Boy, how things change over time.
Of course, because it needs to be politically expedient to do so. So they will shift with the winds, with the political winds, and the one thing, love him or hate him, but Trump has been consistent, and he's been saying much of the same things for 40 years. So I mean, you can go back, So anybody that's why as soon as even back in 2015 during that election cycle, people were starting to lob the whole racist and sexist thing with Trump. I was like, wait a minute. Anybody that's been following him since the 80s knows that that's not the case. The guy was championing, black athletes. I mean, God, and him and Don King were putting fights on together in Atlantic City back in the 80s. I mean, my God, the Roy Cohn, for whether that's a good example or not, but one of the gayest attorneys ever in New York was his right hand for years and years.
Jesse Jackson, when he ran for president 30 years ago, Trump endorsed him. I mean, we can go on and on. We know now the left, we know now the fake news and the mainstream media are basically puppets of the deep state and the far left and and George Soros and all that stuff. I know it sounds conspiratorial to say those things out loud, but it's the truth. And Trump's record, he was never a racist until he ran for anything. He's only ever run to be president. He was never a racist until then. He never had any legal problems until then either, by the way. All this lawfare nonsense. So the Democrats have shown their true hand. They're America last, and it's time for America first, and it's on its way, January 20th. Here it comes, guys. Get ready.
Absolutely. All right. So on that note, thank you again for joining us. Those of you who have, again, we are Patriots Only Please. You can find us at patriotsonlyplease.com. And look, again, if you're not into the website thing, I mean, then follow us and like and subscribe at your preferred social network of choice. But again, keep in mind on X, Twitter, however you want to call it, we are Patriots Only Please. Yes, which is weird, but I mean, but you can find us. We're out there. Just look us up either individually or collectively. So yeah, until next time, I am Jeff, and you are again
Mr. Soli.
All right, and I like to let you finish off with the last line, of course.
Folks, keep on trumping.
There you go. Keep on trumping. Couldn't have said it better. All right. See you next time.